The other morning I was on a live and someone said that people who call themselves colored are just a minority group who have limited impact for change around them. Then they went further and said that Cape Malays are not African. And I'll be honest, that hurt me a bit. In fact, it actually hurt me more than a bit. But respectfully, I chose not to respond fully. Inside, though, it reminded me of that feeling that I think most colored and mixed people around the world know very well. And that is the feeling of being cast out. Like we are never enough of anything to belong anywhere. And it's not just me. We all remember what happened to Tyler. People came at her from both sides, claiming that she was denying something. Either she was denying her blackness or she was denying her coloredness. Or even a very different example, Waras. How Waras disowned or denounced any association with being a colored on Penwell's podcast. But here's the thing, man. Being colored, being mixed, it's not a denial of anything. It's a recognition of complexity. So let's answer the question. Who are we? What are we? Forget about the slogans. Forget about the stereotypes. In the book Slavery in South Africa by academics Elizabeth Aldridge and Fred Morton, the Cape Colony is described as having one of the most racially and ethnically diverse enslaved populations in the world. Now we all know this part. Between the 1600s and the 1800s, people were brought to the Cape from Mozambique, Angola, Madagascar, India, Sri Lanka, Indonesia, Malaysia. And that's not even all. And then as slaves, they were forced into a system or into systems alongside Khoisan, Dutch, Germans, the Nguni, and then later the British. This is not opinion. This is documented history. In fact, a 2009 study published in Human Genetics confirmed this genetic diversity. It showed that Cape Coloreds, they carry ancestry, DNA from the Khoisan African, from the Nguni African, South Asian, Southeast Asian, and European. And here's something else. In the early 1700s, as the population of people born from this ethnic melting pot of colors, cultures, languages grew, the colonial administration didn't know what to call these mixes. They didn't know how to classify a child of, say, a Sri Lankan and Nguni union maybe, or a Malay Khoi union. So they first started calling us bastards, and then later coloreds. And this was for their record-keeping classification purposes, to also divide us amongst one another and to pin us against one another. But over time, it evolved and became a way to describe a people who were born of many lineages, many cultures, many traumas even, and even many triumphs, because here we are today. And in South Africa, that became ours. That's not confusion. That is richness. To address whether or not Cape Malays are African, I've spoken about Tuan before. He was a prince from Tidor, and he was exiled to Robben Island in the late 1700s. After his release, he began teaching Islam to majority enslaved and native population. He built the first madrasa, and he also laid the foundation for Islam in South Africa. And here's the part that arrogance is ignorant of. He married a black woman from the Cape. She was known as Sarki van de Kaap. Of course, that was a last name that was given to her by the colonial system. But that was an example of how Asia and Africa, united by faith, by family, by community. And his example was not an exception. So when you say that Cape Malays aren't African, you are ignoring the very people who helped to free, uplift, and build new families with Africans. Now, I believe something that might sound very controversial, and it depends on your perspective and how you choose to perceive whatever I say now. But colored people, mixed people, are the genetic solution to racism. Why? Because our DNA carry the story of how European imperialists tried to divide us. And yet our existence is proof that unity is possible. We are the living archive of colonization, slavery, survival, and resistance. While some argue about race and bloodlines, we carry them all in one form or another. And yes, sometimes they tell us that we don't belong, that we aren't black enough, or African enough, or pure enough. But maybe the truth is that we aren't less of anything. Instead, we are a living example of a solution that actually brings us together. My final word is this. For those of us who identify as colored, we also acknowledge and respect those who choose to move away from the word colored. I would say that we get it. The word came from pain, from labeling, from systems that dehumanized us. But for those of us who still carry the name, we need to do so without any arrogance, not to distance ourselves from others, but because we see ourselves fully. We embrace our story in all of its complexity. So every colored person, every mixed person, wherever you are watching this, you carry the blood of kingdoms, of warriors, of slaves, of scholars, and even saints. Acknowledge everything that you are. Embrace your African roots. Embrace your Asian roots, your Indian, your European bloodlines. You are not a mistake. You are a mirror of the world. To fear being ostracized for who you are is to fear racism and to fear prejudice. Yeah, I think I'll leave it at that.